This video is sponsored by G Fuel. Go to them for any of your energy drink needs. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Battle Frontier Series 10 Challenge presented by G Fuel. My name is Nekra, and I'm joined once again by Justin Karras. We're going to take you through one last matchup of the day by ourselves, and then we're going to be joined on the desk a little bit later by Joe and Sierra. So I'm super excited to hear them get on the commentary desk. But Justin, you and I have had two incredibly good matches so far today.
Yeah, the level of play that the players have brought to the table is awesome, and I'm thrilled because usually that's a good mark of a exciting format to come. I was a little bit worried about it at first because of again the power creep, no Dynamax for defensive positioning, but maybe because people wanted Dynamax gone so bad, they brought out the best in themselves. They want it to be gone for good, so maybe I can have a little bit of hope. I'm more optimistic now, and especially with what we have so far seen it's just I hope that that's the standard set. I'm very happy to be a part of this tournament, and the next match that we're going into right now is going to be a banger, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. The next matchup that we've got for you is going to be Marco versus Susej VGC. And I'm super excited about getting a chance to feature this particular matchup because we just saw Marco do some incredible work with a very peculiar Pokemon. It was that Ditto in our match number 2 of the day in top 16 that really stood out for me. So let's go ahead and pull that team back up on the screen for you and just do a little bit of a recap of kind of how Marco really played around with these Pokemon.
Yeah, the Lunala and the Stack Attack just present a pretty good combination. They cover each other pretty well. Special attacker, physical attacker, different sides of the speed spectrum. That Lunala Incineroar and Stack Attacker crew has been around for since 2019. I really do think that the Ditto play, especially in a non-Xerneas matchup, was really well executed. We saw many checkmate situations where Marco just completely locked it down by planning for a late game Ditto, and that's kind of is supplementing the lack of a second restricted
Yeah.
with the imposter. So in this next matchup, I'd like to see how maybe some of the other players on this team factor in. We saw a little bit of a feature from the Tapu Fini, but no Serena. Didn't really have too much of a spot in that last matchup. But going into this next team, Serena may be something that gets brought.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pull up the other team. You know, we've already talked about Marco being such an accomplished player, but we also have Jesus, that is also an incredibly decorated player. Top 4 in the Desafio Latam tournament, also the Circuito Galar finals, and also top 16 at the Europe Players Cup 3. That's incredible accomplishments under their belt. And I love that we're seeing a Palkia, of all things, as the restricted Pokemon on this team.
Yeah, Palkia, a Pokemon that didn't really have too much usage back in formats like 2016. 2019, it did have a little bit of a niche when Z moves were reintroduced because Hydro Vortex is just awesome. And it's in a great speed tier where it can do tons of damage. But that was also usually when it was boosted with an assist from a Kyogre partner. So in a restricted format where there is no secondary restricted, Palkia acting on its own power level, not exactly something that you see too often. So definitely a unique choice. And you can kind of see that the offense is supplemented in the Urshifu and probably that Landorus.
Mhm.
There's different pieces that are going to cover stuff that Palkia can't get through. I'm surprised a little bit to see that there's no real fairy coverage. You don't see any poison types or steel types, especially when that team could be poison type. Sorry, Amoonguss, but Amoonguss not really the most offensive poison type. Uh, but Palkia very weak to stuff like Xerneas. So I wonder what the game plan would be against something like a Xerneas. Not something that they're going to have to worry about in this matchup. They are facing off against Lunala, where something like that Urshifu is going to play a huge role, having access to I'm assuming that's going to be, the dark moves. Urshifu again, a Pokemon that's been introduced in this last generation that has a ridiculous power creep on other, Pokemon in terms of damage output, pretty sizable bulk, and an ability that goes to protect. I think specifically in VGC, not having to worry about protect for your offensive target is huge because um, protect is something that we see a lot more in something like VGC where doubles, it has a lot more viability. I feel like it was kind of a bad decision to put a move that can a Pokemon that can just kind of go through it. But I feel like it makes sense to try to lower the viability of one specific strategy. and Protect is something that's very prevalent in our scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Urshifu is definitely one of those Pokemon that you look at and go, it's going to be absolutely busted in a non Dynamax format, especially with all those critical hits it's going to be dishing out. But it's really interesting. We got to talk about some usage stats here. Palkia is the only Palkia that actually made it into Top Cut today. And so that's kind of interesting. We get a chance to see that. We've got 5 Landorus Therian, which I think is also very interesting. But we also have 12 Urshifu, 9 Rapid Strike, and 3 Single Strike, with also 27 out of 30 Incineroar for this particular top cut. And we also have 10 Zacian. So lots and lots of different Pokemon that we get a chance to play around with, but that makes me even more excited to see how this particular Palkia is going to function, just because it's the only one in Top Cut. So I really hope we get a chance to see it.
Incineroar and Urshifu going to be coming out here on Susage's side. But as I said earlier, the Serena going to make an appearance, bringing her Queenly Majesty along with Lunala. Great matchup here against the Incineroar to prevent any fake out. You can actually select it when Queenly Majesty. It would fail unless they switched out. But again, that wouldn't exactly be the most necessary thing to do. Lunala going to be able to threaten Trick Room pressure. But I don't know exactly how well Stack Attack fares in this matchup, so I don't know that Marco brought it. Urshifu going to be, very threatening for this Lunala, so we're most likely going to see a defensive switch here, especially since they know that Lunala does not carry Protect.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 2 different Pokemon that could set up the Trick Room. I don't think Trick Room is going to be as necessary or viable in this particular matchup, which is definitely why we didn't see that Marco actually brought Stack Attacka at all to this particular matchup. But I like the Tapu Fini coming in here, especially if the Urshifu was going to start targeting down the Lunala, especially as we see the Wicked Blow coming out from the Urshifu here right into this arena, actually. Nice critical hit there, of course. But Serena going to go ahead and just go for the U-turn, which is going to be able to deal some damage to that Urshifu and also pop its Focus Sash.
Yeah, and Serena pretty much off the bat, Urshifu showing that it just eliminated one eighth of Marco's entire HP pool in one shot. There's no Intimidate that it has to worry about because it always gets the critical hit on that Wicked Blow. But Ditto going to come in here with the Imposter. Actually going to be copying that Urshifu's typing, which is pretty great defensively in this situation. The Snarl you see is going to be resisted, and Tapu Fini is a support Pokemon on this team, so not really too worried about having its special attack dropped. I think maybe uniquely in this situation, it might possibly allow that Urshifu to survive a Moonblast. But again, Moonblast is one of the best special attacks, 95 damage, guaranteed to connect. It most likely will still get the knockout on Urshifu. Not the best specially bulky Pokemon.
Yeah, Urshifu kind of just goes down to a little gust of special wind. So it's kind of nice to be able to see that Tapu Fini be able to pivot in, but it also makes a lot of sense that Jesus is actually going to go ahead and switch out that Urshifu. Definitely doesn't want to keep it in the field when it is in front of that Tapu Fini, as we're going to see the close combat go right into the Incineroar, and this is exactly what we were talking about. Marco doing such a great job of being able to put that Ditto into a position to copy the right target and then pressure down something on his opponent's side. But the Moonblast does come out here, and Landorus is going to tank that, so it was really great to see Jesus get that switch.
Yeah, Marco's team it's weird how he uses Ditto to kind of just outmaneuver offensive teams. I've never really seen Ditto do that against stuff that's not Xerneas, so I'm wondering if that's something that might be a style of play that's developed in this format alone. I've almost never really seen stuff like that happen. So it's unique to see the Ditto used so well. Palkia going to be coming onto the field here. Tons of offensive pressure coming out from the Palkia. I don't know that Susej actually let that Incineroar go down on purpose for better positioning. Palkia does not match up well into Tapu Fini. And Landorus, I'm assuming, is going to be a special variant. Not going to be able to do any damage, most likely, to that Tapu Fini, a very especially bulky Pokemon.
I'm really curious to see what this Landorus is going to do, and also what this Palkia is going to do. We did see Marco go ahead and opt for a switch here, bringing that Serena back into play, which is going to at least protect a little bit of this team, but also just go ahead and tank this Earth Power. That's going to do, negligible damage. And, Palkia! It misses the Thunder! But the Nature's Madness misses too!
Yeah. Sizable damage on both sides, just completely whiffed on both of these Pokemon.
Whew.
Terrible turn of events. I feel like that probably impacted Marco a little bit more. I feel like there's enough chance for the Tapu Fini to get damage down onto it. Landorus actually does carry Sludge Bomb with Sheer Force, does tons of damage. So, especially Life Orb variants, Tapu Fini might actually get knocked into like the 10% range, I think, from that Sludge Bomb. Sarina coming in, not going to have really too much offensive pressure. I wonder if we're going to see a switch come out here from Marco.
Yeah, Urshifu now coming back in for Jesus' side of the field as Palkia actually goes for a flamethrower this time. Don't want to deal with the accuracy drops there, and that is going to be enough to be able to knock out this arena and take it out. But now we do get a chance to see Marco really do go for the Nature's Madness. It is going to connect this time, which is super, super important onto such a bulky Pokemon like Palkia. And it's kind of nice because Marco gets a free switch here, can just bring the Ditto right back in the face of this Urshifu.
Yeah, and Ditto, it's funny that a lot of these Pokemon match up poorly against themselves. That's kind of where Ditto is shining here.
Yeah.
Urshifu threatened by its own close combat. Palkia most likely threatened by any type of dragon move that it carries. And I feel like that, uh, on Marco's side, being able to go for super strong close combats, you could knock out either of these Pokemon this turn, and possibly even just heal up or get better positioning by switching out the Tapu Fini.
Absolutely, you can go for like a heal pulse as well, just to be able to keep your Pokemon super, super healthy. But Marco has a little bit of an advantage here, knowing that the Urshifu, or the Ditto in this case, does have a choice scarf. So it is going to be one of the fastest Pokemon on the field. I really like that Marco is opting to go ahead and lock himself into the Wicked Blow here. But yeah, Jesus just really doesn't want this Urshifu in the face of this Tapu Fini. So going to go ahead and bring that Landorus back in as Ditto goes for the Wicked Blow right into the Palkia, and
Whew.
that crit is definitely enough to knock it out.
And Urshifu's damage output is illegal. Arrest this Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, you already know that Landers isn't going to take too much from that Moonblast, but it was so important for Marco to actually secure the knockout there. And that's what I really love about his positioning of the Ditto, as well as going for the Nature's Madness to be able to chunk down that HP pool of that Palkia. Jesus does get a chance to bring in this Urshifu once again for free, but how free is it when you still have to deal with this Tapu Fini?
Yeah, I mean, you lost your restricted there to get the Urshifu in, and again, you're slower than the opposing Urshifu. Landorus needing to be the Pokemon that threatens the Tapu Fini. I feel like this is a landslide more so in Marco's favor. The momentum is building up, and Ditto going to go for the Wicked Blow, going to knock out that Landorus with a critical hit, and whew, that was so much damage coming out from that Ditto using the Urshifu against Seju. So Susej, sorry, I said it backwards. Susej, um, gonna take the stat drop there too, but then not really a great matchup for Shifu and Tapu Fini.
Yeah, this Moonblast is going to do a hefty chunk of damage to that Urshifu. In fact, plenty to be able to knock it out. And yeah, Marco just going to go ahead and take this game number one. What incredible play again. I really love that Marco is continuing to bring this Ditto. But I also really appreciate how Jesus can really adjust for this game number two. I think a couple of things that could really go in Jesus's favor here is maybe making sure that that Urshifu is not going to be pressured down too much by that Tapu Fini. I think had to be a lot of defensive switches in order to make sure that that Urshifu didn't get knocked out. And of course, because of the Ditto as well, just being able to copy that Urshifu, that ended up being super, super impactful for Marco.
Yeah, and again, Sarina was the only knockout that Marco took. He had Lunala in the back still too, so just really great positional play. Something that we've talked, kind of repeatedly here, that you need good positional play to utilize Ditto properly. But right now, Marco making it look really easy, to the point where it feels like, Susej, I don't know, their team looks too offensive to be able to handle something like the Ditto being used against them.
Mhm.
I would love to see some Amoonguss play here to possibly protect um, the partners that are, again, more offensively oriented. Another thing too is you are putting out a support Pokemon on the field where Ditto doesn't want to switch into that slot. I want
Yeah.
the players that Marco plays against to start keeping that in mind. You can pressure the slot, like the actual slots that you pick matter. It's like the one Pokemon that makes that really matter. uh,
Yeah.
where you put which Pokemon on each side of the field and how it matches up against the opponent. It's kind of an extra layer. It's kind of a little bit of a coin flip in some cases, but it can really make a difference towards the end. If Lunala is on one side, you might not be able on the same side as something like the Amoonguss. You might not be able to switch it out into the Ditto. So again, keep that in mind going to this game too. I'd love to see some adjustments from Susej.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Amoonguss play here, but you really are relying on it just being able to go for those rage powders, especially knowing that Tapu Fini was a bring for Marco in that game number one. You got to be pretty cognizant of that going into game number two if you are Susej, because you can't just go for spores, knowing that Tapu Fini could just switch in and go ahead and set that Misty Terrain. But as we get into this game number two here between Marco and Susej, we will get a chance to see what kind of adaptations, if any, are made here. And I already like this. Seeing the Regieleki and the Urshifu puts out a ton of offensive pressure. And this time around, you don't have to worry about the Queenly Majesty anymore. You can just go for raw damage.
Yes, exactly. And the big thing here is that Serena, not threatening any real damage out into Urshifu or Regieleki. Again, they're both pretty frail defensively, but I think that the Regieleki was a good bring because you have a tool now to kind of clear the way for your Amoonguss in the end game. Especially because if you get rid of the Tapu Fini early, Spore becomes a much bigger threat down the road. Lunala, again, we know that it has that Meteor Beam threat. I don't know that it's enough damage to be able to take out Regieleki. Possibly a focus switch, focus sash variant as well. Volt Switch going to be coming out here on the Regieleki. Targeting the Lunala, going to be breaking its Shadow Shield.
Yeah, that could be really, really important, especially for the Urshifu that's sitting on the field here. And you're absolutely right, Justin. You called it. This Amoonguss is going to be a part of Susej's game plan this time around. Wicked Blow coming out really, really fast. And wow, that Lunala does not take that. Will be going down here. Marco not going to be able to get a chance to move with this Lunala. And already it feels like Susej made an incredible adjustment for this
Oof.
game number two.
That was literally a flawless turn. Flawless victory. Still not going to be taking the game yet, but that is a massive momentum swing. And yeah, exactly what I said. You don't need to flatter me by telling me that I was right. I know. Thank you. The Amoonguss coming in to take that tropical kick, that trap kick. And then the Urshifu being able to get the damage down to the Lunala, showing that it's most likely faster than Lunala is going to be key for game three. The Regieleki also being getting out of there with Volt Switch scot-free, that's damage that you can save for later in the game. And now Amoonguss, even though it's not going to be able to go for Spore, is in prime position to just Rage Powder, and Urshifu can just start firing off those Wicked Blows.
Wicked Blow definitely going to be able to do a hefty chunk of damage to any Pokemon on Marco's team. But looks like Susej is actually going to go ahead and go for a Protect on the Amoonguss here, as Urshifu goes for a Wicked Blow. This time, going to be targeting into this arena, already bringing it below half HP. But what we saw here is that Tapu Fini on Marco's side is going to go for the Light Screen. And what I really like about this is that it really helps against some of the Pokemon that are in the back, like potentially the Palkia that could be back there. So
Yeah.
just Marco really setting up to make sure that a lot of these specially oriented Pokemon are not going to be able to do nearly as much damage.
Marco setting up for the late game, definitely.
Mhm.
That's kind of the out here. I love that he went for a Power Whip into the Urshifu still. It was really smart for Susej to go for an aggressive Protect there with a Amoonguss. Usually players want to, double target into it with like, expecting maybe like a Nature's Madness and then another attack into the Amoonguss. I, it's open team sheet, so one of the very interesting things is that Serena actually has access to triple Axle, which could do tons of damage to the Amoonguss. I'm really interested to see how much damage it does to the Amoonguss. And now we're seeing a positional factor come into play here. I wonder how Marco is going to be playing this. They just copied the Amoonguss, and Rage Powder now coming out here from Susej as a Wicked Blow is going to target down this Amoonguss. What is the play here?
Wow, Ditto takes so much from that switch in. Maybe Marco recognizing that Ditto might not be able to get into a better position and that you're going to really want to preserve your other Pokemon for later, especially after losing that Lunala so early. That was a lot of Marco's offense completely taken off the table for this entire game. So you can't necessarily play with the Ditto the same way, and we can already see that the forfeit's going to come through here from Marco. That was just really, really well done. It was almost as if Susej got the win off of that turn one alone.
Yeah, I actually understand exactly now why they elected to go for that switch. If you lose Serena there anyway to the Wicked Blow, you get stuck with Ditto as an Amoonguss for that turn anyway. So, and
Mhm.
then you have no, there was no real damage output. They needed to be able to switch in Ditto to the Urshifu slot or something that could take out the Amoonguss. On Susa's side, there was just a much bigger damage differential. And it's funny to me that Marco is. It feels like Marco like almost needs Ditto in this matchup to do damage against that specific combination, the Amoonguss, the
Mhm.
Urshifu, and the Regieleki, because Lunala is really uncomfortable against those things. I know
Yeah.
that Marco went for an extremely aggressive play turn one, just letting Lunala, kind of get knocked out. I don't think we'll see something like that again in game three. So I'm expecting a much more positional based game coming to game three. And again, I think it's very important to note that the side on which you would have to switch your Ditto in is very important.
Yeah, I almost wanna see like, does Marco in this instance not bring Lunala in the front? Like, I feel like Lunala is one of those Pokemon that you kinda do have to bring if you are gonna bring it as a lead, but I could see a world where Marco makes a hard read that the Urshifu is gonna come back in the beginning, and so I really like that Tapu Fini might be a lead here for Marco, potentially with that Ditto or, yeah, the Zarina, just to be able to shut off quite a bit of the offensive pressure. And I really like this adjustment, I think, from Marco.
I think Susej is probably still going to lead Regieleki and Urshifu. There's not much, in my opinion, that Marco has to really combat that. It puts immense pressure onto the Lunala and the Tapu Fini, which is pretty much the best answer that Marco has for
Mhm.
Urshifu. So, on Susej's side, I think that, keeping that Urshifu healthy and protected with something like the Amoonguss, definitely a great game plan. There's not too much that Marco can do about it. I'm just super excited to see how they end up adjusting for this.
Well, you called it, Justin. We've got Urshifu and we have Regieleki on this side of the field for Susej. And now we have that Tapu Fini and that Zarina that we got a chance to see in team preview. So very, very interesting here because, the game plan for Marco is not super set in stone. The Regieleki punishes that Tapu Fini quite a bit. We'll have to see whether it's able to kind of hang on from an attack here. That Volt Switch, especially if we are going to see a pivot come out from Susej, is going to do a lot of damage regardless.
Yeah, you're definitely worried about losing your Tapu Fini turn one, in my opinion. Urshifu electing to go for Protect, not going to do any damage, significant damage in the first turn. Again, Urshifu, very, very important in this matchup. Volt Switch going to do a ridiculous chunk of damage to that Tapu Fini, activating the Pinch Berry this time. As Wicked Berry fires off, going to get a sizable chunk of the HP back. And I would assume that the Amoonguss is going to be coming out here. And Urshifu is going to be getting its job done. Those extremely intimidating shoulders going to be throwing out some extremely wicked blows.
Ooh, it's Palkia this time around. We didn't get a chance to see the Palkia in game number 2, but I really like this here. But Marco did target down that Urshifu, which protected with that Moonblast, but Power Whip gonna come out here right into the Palkia, and that's gonna do roughly half damage. I think that's a sizable chunk for that Serena to be able to dish out.
Palkia, yeah, it's definitely a more offensive variant, and Power Whip has a high base just damage amount, like 120. So even though Serena is the strongest Pokemon, it's still going to do tons of damage when it throws out Power Whips, especially when they
Mhm.
connect. Me and Power Whip don't exactly have the best relationship in terms of accuracy, but I know that when players do hit their Power Whips, like good players do, it can be extremely important.
Another pivot coming here for Susej, bringing in the Amoonguss this time around. Definitely going to be able to help with Rage Powders to be able to protect the Palkia. But the Thunder hits this time around from the Palkia. It's going to go straight into the Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini not going to get a chance to move. That is huge. That is absolutely huge for Jesus.
U-turn firing off into the Amoonguss. Losing Tapu Fini means that there's no real check to the Urshifu anymore.
Yeah, you kind of have to rely on the Ditto to come in and be able to pick up the rest of the HP on that Urshifu, which is pretty healthy. And I don't know if your Ditto, if you really want to be locking yourself in with that Choice Scarf into a close combat. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends because the Ditto probably wouldn't outspeed the Regieleki with Urshifu being the thing that it Choice Scarf copies. I don't even know that it would outspeed it with Palkia, um, but that's to be seen. I don't know exactly how the speed stats line up. Serena going to be coming onto the field with Lunala. Again, we know that this Lunala doesn't have access to a Psychic type attack, so there's a real threat that this Amoonguss doesn't get knocked out, even with, a double target.
Ooh. Setting up Trick Room. Marco really playing an interesting game here, especially knowing that Amoonguss is not going to be threatened in a couple of turns by the Misty Terrain.
I
Palkia going to go
really,
for a flamethrower here.
I wonder why Trick Room. I don't know what the end game potential of that is.
Yeah, well, Power Whip is going to come out because that Amoonguss did protect, and if we see the same amount of damage that we saw before, Palkia actually doesn't get knocked out here. Was that a roll? Palkia's hanging on.
Big survive there, actually. I think that works in Marco's favor because then you don't have to worry about, Urshifu immediately coming in. I think that the goal here kind of is to get Serena in under Trick Room, outspeed the Urshifu so that you can do a good amount of damage. And again, Regieleki is Pokemon in the back, so I initially questioned it, but there's even a
Mm-hmm.
chance, in my opinion, that maybe the uh, Serena gets pivoted around, and then the Amoonguss is what gets copied on the Ditto side right around the time that Misty Terrain ends, and maybe goes for Spore. But right now,
Ooh.
the end game here is completely up for grabs.
Well, we are going to see Regieleki come back in here, which is going to take the triple axle, I believe, that Marco did hover over. It's not going to do very much damage at all for those first few turns. But of course, triple axle does hit 3 times and increases its power with every hit. So that Regieleki going to get down very, very low here as Lunala does go for the Moongeist Beam right into the Palkia slot. Should be able to pick up the knockout here. But that just means that Amoonguss gets to come back in.
Yeah, I'm like in the back of my head, I'm thinking, how much does the Meteor Beam do to the Urshifu? Serena being able to ignore Amoonguss is really huge. I love that that's the mindset that Marco had. I'm going to use my
Mm-hmm.
Serena to maneuver around the Amoonguss's Rage Powder. Um, right now, I feel like Serena's health is an extremely important resource. I don't know that there's going to be a way for Serena to knock out the Urshifu when it comes in. Um, I'd probably expect to see a little bit more defensive switching from Jesus, but I don't know that you can comfortably switch the Amoonguss slot into anything. You're going to take either a Moongeist Beam into one of these slots. You really probably just need the Amoonguss to abuse its regenerator, tank the hit, maybe pivot out with offensive pressure when you can. But Regieleki's speed kind of hurting it here in this situation.
Whew. Let's see what's going to happen here. Marco definitely taking a lot of time to think through this particular game plan. Amoonguss, I've kind of had this feeling that Amoonguss was going to go for a protect here. And Regieleki as well, really just trying to buy some time for the Trick Room to end as well as the Misty Terrain. And we already know that there's only one turn of Misty Terrain left. And this gives Jesus a little bit of an idea of who's getting targeted down here. Misty Terrain is gone now. But I think that what's really, really important is that we do get a chance to see this Amoonguss come in or this Ditto and get copied.
Yeah, I think that that's probably the best play is, you switch in your Ditto into the Amoonguss slot. You either get an Urshifu if they switch out, or an Amoonguss where you can Rage Powder and protect your own Serena from the Urshifu, which I think would be masterful. The Serena still able to threaten the Regieleki. Jesus probably going to need to go for a protect, a double protect. I remember that chance of that happening has been reduced to around 30%. So not exactly the most reliable way to win this game, but I do see it as an out. Ditto going to come in here, actually going to transform into that Amoonguss as predicted, and a Clear Smog firing off into the Serena, not doing too much damage.
Yeah, that's not going to be too bad here. Serena is going to go for a U-turn. Regieleki at a low enough health that should be enough to knock it out. And we get a chance to see Marco pivot around one more time to be able to bring that Lunala back in. But what's really interesting here is this is such a weird end game, right? You still have Jesus that's able to bring in the Urshifu here. alongside that Amoonguss. And is Lunala and Amoonguss alone going to be enough here? I think Lunala is still in a really interesting predicament. I really appreciate that the Ditto is an Amoonguss right now from Marco, because you can go for Rage Powders to try to get a lot of that damage away from the Lunala itself. But I'm interested. I'm really, really interested to see how this is going to go.
Yeah, there's still also, the threat of Spore coming in. I think that Misty Train either ends this turn or just ended.
Hmm.
So again, Trick Room up, you can really pressure that Urshifu. But again, the Lunala being on the field is kind of a little bit of a liability. There's not much that you can avoid from that Amoonguss firing off. You can't Rage Powder away the damage. Another thing too, though, is if there's a knockout that happens in any capacity, the Ditto will be locked into Spore. So Urshifu going to be protecting to avoid that Spore, but uh, Amoonguss going for a Clear Smog into the opposing Ditto. Actually, a very smart choice in my opinion. Knowing that the Serena is Assault Vest, you're not exactly going to be, destroying it with Clear Smog. And now the Twisted Dimensions actually return to normal, so that Amoonguss that was a very threatening win condition, now possibly at the mercy of that Urshifu going for a Wicked Blow.
Yeah, with the Choice Scarf, Ditto is locked into Spore right now. And I think that Marco's game plan here is definitely trying to put the Urshifu to sleep, just so that Lunala can come in. But it's really going to depend on what this Urshifu decides to target down. Zarina is going to switch out here.
Oh,
Lunala
wow.
is going to be able to come in its place. But did Marco call this right? Where is this Wicked Blow going to go here? Urshifu's going to go for it. And it's going right into the Lunala. It hangs on with 23 HP.
Wow. And Ditto's going to get the Spore off. That's going to be huge. And now it's going to be coming down to sleep turns, how quickly the Urshifu can wake up. And that's the benefit of running an Amoonguss, is that it spores after you
With the Clear
attack.
Smog. Oh my gosh. Oh, Marco.
This is stressful. The Lunala managed to hang on there. Extremely bulky, very large defensive, special defensive stat, and huge HP stat. So Lunala going to be able to fire off a Amoonguss beam possibly into the Amoonguss, and Ditto going to possibly be able to get saved as a late game win condition for the Urshifu. This has been incredible play from Marco. If this ends up working out with the sleep turns, I really think that this might be one of the most well played Ditto games I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh.
Ditto ending up being the MVP of 2 matches, maybe. But Moongeist Beam does come out here. Clear Smog is going to come out. We saw it do about 13 HP damage. And so, yes, the second Clear Smog is going to be enough to be able to knock out the Lunala. But that means Ditto gets a chance to come in right in the face of that Urshifu with that Choice Scarf attached to it. It is going to be faster. This is so interesting. I think both of these players have played tremendously with the Ditto, around the Ditto, and it's coming down to the wire, Justin.
Yeah, the Ditto coming in here and being the Urshifu is crazy, because the Amoonguss is still on the field. There's still the threat of Protects coming out, and it's pretty much just going to come down to whether or not the Urshifu can wake up and protect and attack. Um, Either protect or just go right for the attack into the Ditto and pretty much win the game, because Serena versus man, I don't know. I'm scared because I feel like the Serena doesn't have the firepower to win this game, especially because the Amoonguss is at full health. I have to, commend Jesus for going for such impeccable Amoonguss play. Again, a very, a staple of VGC for many, many years. It's really going to come down to whether or not the Urshifu can wake up.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how you do it. You put your hands together and you pray to the RNG gods.
Locking into close combat here, maybe. Marco has maybe one turn to really get this right. Amoonguss, though, gonna go for the Rage Powder here. So that is going to direct the attention away from the Urshifu for that close combat and that Power Whip. So close combat, it's not going to do a whole lot of damage to this Amoonguss. And what's really important is it's going to drop this Ditto's defense and the special defense. So if this Urshifu wakes up, and it does not, Jesus's Urshifu stays asleep, but the Power Whip misses from that Amoonguss.
I completely forgot that was a factor as well. The Power Whip having an 85 accuracy, definitely showing there. Marco, unfortunately, going to whiff. Urshifu does still have the chance to stay asleep. It's very low here. It's something around the same time as a chance as a double protect. I'm surprised that he locked into close combat. yeah, I feel like a dark move would have done just as
Does
much
a lot,
damage
though.
to Urshifu, but I understand in the possibility that they didn't, protect or rage powder it away. Still does a crazy amount of damage.
It woke up! Oh my gosh, Urshifu's gonna go for the wicked blow here. Ditto is at -2, but it goes into the Zarina here. Amoonguss being able to hang on, not getting hit by the triple axle. Oh my gosh.
And in all reality, I think that power whip miss actually didn't even impact things because the Urshifu was able to tank that power whip, the first one that we saw. Didn't do enough to knock it out. So if it was able to survive, it wouldn't have ended up changing things. So Marco going to be able to get that close combat off into the Mungus. We'll get the knockout, which is nice, but again, we will see that Jesus is going to end up cleaning this up. Going to be knocking out Marco's Ditto, and wow, an amazing set, crazy finish. That was awesome.
Holy cow. Yeah, wow. That close combat just gonna be plenty. Absolutely plenty. Maybe even overkill to be able to get the knockout onto Marco's Ditto. Susej, Jesus, expert gameplay there to be able to work around that Ditto, especially making the adjustments necessary after those first couple of games to be able to say, all right, Marco, I know the game plan here. It's Ditto. And you're not going to be able to use it this time around the way that you want to. Huge, huge plays. And that secures Jesus as our first top 4 finalist. Marco does walk away with some money, though.
Yeah, making it over into top 4 in the semifinals. Excellent job. Amazing play there. I feel like there was so much in their favor with the Regieleki and Urshifu matchup, being just so much offensive pressure. Lunala couldn't really operate comfortably. But I really have to commend Marco, the recognition in game 2 that like the Amoonguss came out and the Ditto came out and copied Amoonguss in like the wrong spot, but was still very useful. I feel like that's not something that they have a flow chart for. That you can tell he just figured that out on the fly, and that was a very complex late game that they were extremely close to properly executing. So again,
Yeah.
a master, amazing Italian player, well played. Don't hang your head low over that one. That was a fantastic set, and congratulations to Jesus for making it on to the semifinals.
Yeah, this has been incredible for just being able to see all of the amazing gameplay so far for the Series 10 challenge by Battle Frontier presented by G Fuel. Man, I am so looking forward to what the rest of this day is going to hold. And Justin, I'm excited to get a chance and just kind of sit back and watch everything with you.
I
Uh,
know.
it's going to be really great. Justin and I are going to be hopping off the commentary desk after this game. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you again, Justin. But we will be replaced by Joe and Sierra, who will take you through the rest of the matches of today. Justin, if you had to pick a favorite moment of today, what would have it been from all the gameplay that we got a chance to see?
This is going to be extremely boring, but I think that Marco's switch into Ditto, where it copied the Incineroar, just as like a defensive checkmate. The typing and the position that it was in. I'm, a sucker for just smart Pokemon. And again, it just like you can just see the game plans working themselves out for Marco. Again, I'm a little bit surprised. I feel like there weren't as many overextensions or like heavy read based plays. I kind of understand like there's not too much of a feel for the format yet. Maybe we'll see some of that develop. And I know that when things get into the later games, if the more even the matchup is, the more you'll see play like that, where you have to kind of go a little bit crazy. Honestly, sometimes when it's really volatile, you see crazy plays like that too, because you
Yeah.
are trying to like make that like 1 in 10 chance work to win the game. So, yeah, that was my favorite moment. It's been a pleasure casting with you. Thank you for having me on a little bit last minute. I really had a great time, and I look forward to doing more of this and playing this format myself.
Yeah, I'm super grateful that you're able to come on the commentary desk. I had a ton of fun with you. I hope everybody has been enjoying the show so far. We are going to figure out the next matchup for you all in the Battle Frontier Series 10 Challenge presented by G Fuel. Thanks again to our sponsor for making sure that we can get this tournament off without a hitch. G Fuel is one of my favorite energy drinks to enjoy for when I need that extra pick me up. And you can pick up some by checking out the link with exclamation point G Fuel. So go ahead and check that out. And especially while we're in the break, we're going to be coming back after this with Joe and Sierra with our next match.